Hi everyone, and welcome to our digital pre-concert talk. This Saturday, the Silk Road meets the environment in our third Jack M. Champagne Masterworks concert. I've been looking forward to the four pieces on our program for a long time. We'll play Lily Boulanger's joyful orchestral miniature called Of a Spring Morning. Next, we have a musical description of a Silk Road encounter on the steppes of Central Asia by Alexander Borodin. We'll play the suite for improviser and orchestra by Syrian composer and clarinetist Kenan Azmeh, a member of the Silk Road Ensemble, and the award-winning symphonic landscape Terra Nostra by the Seattle-based French composer Christophe Chagnard, complete with stunning visuals on the big screen. Lily Boulanger was an incredibly talented composer, the first woman to ever win the prestigious Prize of Rome for composers. Her piece, D'un matin de printemps, of a spring morning, is a 5-minute masterpiece, full of light, delicate orchestration and brilliant colours of sound. It's just what's needed to chase all this snow away. We had to postpone it when we programmed it 2 seasons ago, and we're thrilled to be finally playing it. What I love about our second piece, Boridens on the Steppes of Central Asia, is its simplicity. Using just 2 melodies, Borodin describes a typical Silk Road encounter that takes place on Central Asia's vast steppelands. And I'm not going to say any more about it now, because we're going to do that in concert right before we play it. How's that for a teaser? Borodin's piece is the perfect preface for our guest soloist, Kenan Azmeh. Kenan's suite for improviser and orchestra takes us on a far from typical Silk Road journey. He combines his Syrian roots with his global experience to create a unique atmosphere that I find totally beguiling, at times haunting and full of unbelievable energy. I had a chance to catch up with Kenan via Zoom. Welcome, Kenan.
Thank you very much, Asif. Thank you.
So great to have you here. You know, you have performed all over the world, all the top orchestras, all the top conductors. You're an award-winning musician, including a Grammy Award. And I guess our connection is through the Silk Road Ensemble.
During my life in New York, I met so many people from the Silk Road Ensemble. You know, in evening, like unofficial jam sessions, in school, and you name it, everywhere in the New York music scene. So when I joined the ensemble, I was surrounded by many people who were friends already. And so I joined the ensemble in 2012. And the excuse for me to join was there was a new commission by the wonderful British-American composer David Bruce. And he was commissioned to write a piece that features the clarinet, you know, with a big role. Right. And I was chosen to be that clarinetist, which was wonderful.
How exciting. And there was no turning back after that.
Nope.
So you mentioned that you've studied, you lived in New York, but you studied at Juilliard, is that right?
That's right, yes.
So you have a classical training in the clarinet.
Yes, I started actually my education back in Damascus when I was 7. That's when I started playing the clarinet in Syria, where I grew up. And I, you know, I did all, you know, I learned my Bach, Brahms, Mozart growing up. But also, I was exposed at an early age to non-classical music, if I can, you know, describe it as such. My mom loved Arabic music. My dad loved classical music. So, you know, I wanted to make them both happy. So I was interested in all of that. Finished high school, went to university in Damascus. I studied both at the Higher Institute of Music, studying classical clarinet playing. But also I got a degree in electrical engineering from the University of Damascus. And then I moved to New York to pursue my higher education. So I went to Juilliard. And then after that, I did my doctorate at the City University of New York. So yes, I'm sorry, this is a long way to answer your question. My background is classical, but I do lots of non-classical activities. I think improvisation is a major part in every music making activity you can imagine. Like, you know, even in the classical world, when people say classical music is rigid, I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think we just would like sometimes to describe it as such, but you know, Mozart was a wonderful improviser, and Bach was as well, and that's where I see the similarities between the different musics I do. Arabic music and music from that part of the world, certainly there are lots of emphasis on improvisation in that sense of, composing on the spot, but in the meantime, it's composing, how you use the modes you're using, how you work with rhythm, everything. This is also composing. I like to think of composition as improvisations, but also improvisation as composition. So yeah, I enjoy both lines equally.
We're going to perform your piece, and you've written many pieces. This piece is the suite for improviser. So you have mini cadenza moments or improvising moments throughout this piece, but you also draw on your classical and your New York backgrounds. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. I wrote this piece because I like to improvise, I like to compose, I like to play the clarinet. So I thought, okay, let me write a piece that will fit what I want. So it's tailor-made for me, but I'm always happy to have other people play it, of course. It's in 3 movements, and the 3 movements come from 3 different stories, actually. The first movement is titled Love on 139th Street in D. And this is an homage to a neighbor that I've never met. I lived on 139th Street in Harlem, New York, off Broadway. And we had a neighbor who lived in the 1st floor, and we were on the 4th floor, who used to play reggaeton and merengue 24/7. So for 7 years of me living in Harlem, I went to bed, woke up hearing the tung tung ting tung ting ting tung. This was my life. I never met the guy. Every time I play this piece, I'm wishing that maybe he's sitting in the audience, not knowing how he influenced my life. And the first time I sat down to write a piece after I moved to New York, I wanted to write something inspired by my background and my original home, and the music of the neighbor crept into the piece I was writing. So this is like a kind of homage to Harlem, where I lived. The second movement, titled November 22nd, was written after I was invited for the first time to a Thanksgiving dinner. I was hosted by this wonderful family outside of DC. And it was tricky because it was the first time that I felt at home away from home. And those of us who have relocated places, you realize how tricky that is, because you wonder, is it okay to feel at home elsewhere? Am I betraying my original home if I feel at home in another place? And with that thought, I was writing the piece. The piece is inspired by Damascus, specifically by a marketplace that used to exist behind my parents' place back in the city. And it had a steady rhythm to it. Almost, I think similar to how life is. Life has a steady rhythm regardless of our emotions about it. So that's the second movement. The third movement is inspired by the mood and the setting one can find in a Syrian village wedding. These are the types of weddings where everybody is invited because they take place at the public square. I always like to joke that these are the weddings where you cannot disinvite anybody. Right. People show up, they are expected to eat, but also they are expected to listen to some music. And the musicians show up usually, and there's no playlist of sort. They play whatever they like, sometimes depending on how many drinks they had over the night. So I'm trying to capture that mood.
We can't wait to hear you and to host you here.
Thank you very much, Alistair. Thank you. I'm really looking forward. I always feel every time I play for a new audience in a new city, I'm expanding my concept of home a little bit. So I know that I'm already going to an extension of home. So thank you very much for having me.
I love it. See you soon.
See you soon.
And after intermission, we'll be presenting the powerful multimedia symphonic experience called Terra Nostra by Christophe Chagnard. It's a 35-minute piece that fuses the power of symphonic music with stunning videography, calling awareness to the impacts of climate change. I had a chance to catch up with Christophe via Zoom. Christophe, I am so thrilled to be conducting your piece Terra Nostra here in South Bend. I understand you're coming to town.
I am. I'll be there in person. It's very important to me to be at your side when you perform my music, and I'm delighted that I was able to make it happen and be there with you.
Ever since I attended the world premiere of Terra Nostra in Seattle, where you're talking from right now, where I lived for so many years, I have wanted to conduct your piece. I remember you, as you were introducing the piece in concert, I was blown away with the depth of your research, your passion for the environment. but mostly for your musical score, for the originality, for the waves of sound and the interest and the drama. I came away from the concert so moved by what I just experienced. And I found myself wondering, how quickly can I program Terra Nostra elsewhere, because more people need to hear this wonderful music and experience it. So that moment has arrived some 7 years and a pandemic later.
I commend you for your resilience and faith in this project, Alistair. You've been very patient, and it's finally arriving. I mean, one thing is certain is that the challenges associated with climate change are not going away. In fact, during those 7 years, they have increased in proportion and impact. So that message is more urgent than ever. When I was commissioned to compose at the time, it was presented as a symphony about climate change. You know, I felt both exhilarated and very humbled, because the topic at hand is so monumental. So it was an incredible opportunity to bring together my great passions for the environment and, of course, music. And this is a piece that I spent just about as much time researching than I did composing. Uh-huh. So I thought really deeply about how to convey my convictions about this in the deepest possible way. Because for me, it's all about legacy. It's all about in what state are we going to leave this planet when we're gone. It's not very much about us, but so much about our children and grandchildren and the children of everyone and cousins and the next generations. And I have to be able to look at my children in the eyes and tell them that, one, I knew that climate change was happening, and two, that I did everything in my power to mitigate its impact, at least on an individual level. Interestingly enough, the first version that I composed, that was premiered, as you say, in 2015, had a much darker ending. And you probably know that it's very difficult to end anything, whether it's a novel or a play or a film or a symphony. It is hard to end, especially when it's programmatic music, such as Terra Nostra. And at the time, it's true that the ending was rather dark and a bit hopeless. And this is an instance where I was open enough to revise it. And so I rewrote the ending with a sense of hope and possibilities, because it's true that the numbers don't look so great at the moment, but time is both adversarial and also on our side, because technology could possibly save the day. So all is not lost. At the time of the premiere, I had actually put a film together myself, because it was premiered in a concert hall that had a big screen. Mm-hmm. And I thought, climate change can be so abstract. It'd be nice to have a few images. And it's not like the music is not compelling enough. The narrative in the piece is very strong. So you can absolutely enjoy Terra Nostra closing your eyes, and it will take you somewhere. That I will guarantee. But I want to add images, because in the end, what is foremost important to me is to convey a message and foster a dialogue about climate change from people who already know that it's happening, all the way to climate deniers and skeptics. And so the whole range. What I'm interested in is fostering a dialogue and creating an emotional reaction that will take people somewhere and maybe inspire reflection. So the piece actually begins before the Big Bang. And of course, we don't know anything about pre-Big Bang. So I speculated in my sonic ways in the sound of the universe, or the Milky Way before the Milky Way. And then we actually hit the Big Bang. So this will be a big cue for you, Alistair. If there's one that you need to nail, is that one. Mm-hmm. And then we go through light and water, sort of the fundamental elements of life. And then I found a device to go through time, which was a self-imposed and really fun challenge, is to quote composers, famous composers.
Right.
And I did so with the greatest reverence. All the quotes are in the original keys and they are unaltered. And the idea is to go from one to the next, you know, from Bach to Stravinsky, until we hit, of course, the industrial age, the industrial revolution, where the tone changes completely. And then the piece goes through specific aspects of climate change, you know, droughts and fires and glacier melting, et cetera, all the way to the coda, the ending section that presents a more hopeful, where everything comes together and hopefully conveys a sense that nature is very resilient. You know, it's interesting that we always worry about the earth, but the earth is going to be fine. The earth can absolutely outlive our species and thrive without us.
Oh, I cannot wait for this experience to come to South Bend and to conduct your glorious score. So we'll see you very soon. And thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you, Alistair, and thank you all.
Thanks for watching and listening. We look forward to welcoming you and playing for you on Saturday night. See you then.